Good morning, friends. Hope you all are safe and keeping well amidst the second wave of COVID-19. I understand a lot of compliances have to be dealt with by the charitable organizations in the upcoming months, especially FCRA registered organizations. So here I am once again trying to make a life bit easier for you by not only covering all major aspects of application in Form 10A, but also hand-holding you in filling up the form for renewal of your registrations under Section 12AA or 12A or 1023C and 80G, or taking fresh registrations under the new provisions. At first, let me give you a brief understanding on the Form 10A. Who are required to file Form 10A? The organizations who are already registered, I repeat, the organizations who are already registered under the erstwhile sections and have to renew the registrations as per the recent CBDT notification number 19/2021 mandatorily. All those who are new to the sector and want to apply a fresh registrations under any of these sections for exemption benefits also need to file Form 10A. So, two types of organizations are required to file Form 10A. One, the existing organizations for renewal of the registrations, and the new organizations who want registrations under any of these sections. When such organizations can apply in Form 10A? For organizations wanting to renew their existing registrations can apply within 3 months from the date as was specified in the notification, that is 1st April 2021. This implies the application process have already started with effect from 1st April and has to be filled within 30th June 2021. For organizations applying for fresh registration, it has to be applied at least 1 month before the commencement of the year from which such exemption has to be claimed. I repeat, for organizations applying for fresh registrations, it has to be applied at least 1 month before the commencement of the year from which such exemption has to be claimed. This implies the newer organizations shall not be able to claim exemption benefit in assessment year 2022-23, which is the first year of the new provisions. They shall be able to claim the benefit only with effect from assessment year 2023-2024. Now, how to file Form 10A? The Form 10A has to be furnished electronically, verified with digital signature in case of those organizations who file their income tax return with digital signature, and in case of others, the form has to be verified with electronic verification code. What is the time limit of receiving the order under the new provisions? The order has to be passed by the competent authority within 3 months from the date of filing the application in case of renewal, and within 1 month in case of fresh registration. As per the provisions, no inquiry or investigation, I repeat, as per the provisions, no inquiry or investigation shall be conducted by the competent authority for granting renewal or provisional registration under the new provisions to the new trusts. What shall be the validity of such registration? The renewed registration shall be valid for a period of 5 years and have to be reapplied in Form 10AB, which has been notified but not yet been made available on the portal for further renewal at least 6 months before the date of expiry. I repeat, the renewed registration shall be valid for a period of 5 years and have to be reapplied in Form 10AB for further renewal at least 6 months before the date of expiry. In case of new trusts, the registration shall be provisional in nature, which shall be valid for a period of 3 years and have to be reapplied for permanent registration at least 6 months before the date of expiry or within 6 months of the date of commencement of activities, whichever is earlier. I repeat, in case of new trusts, the registration shall be provisional in nature, which shall be valid for a period of 3 years and have to be reapplied for permanent registration at least 6 months before the date of expiry or within 6 months of the date of commencement of activities by such new trusts, whichever is earlier. Coming to the form, before I move on to explaining the process of filling it up, first let us see where you will find it. After logging on to your income tax portal, go to the tab e-file and select the option income tax forms. There, from the drop down list, you can find and select form 10A. Once you select the form, you will find the assessment year gets auto-filled to assessment year 2022-2023 and the mode of submission also gets auto-filled to prepare and submit online. This is because it's obvious that we are applying for the renewal or the new registration in assessment year 2022-23 and also it's mandatory to furnish the form electronically. Now let's move on to the form. So form 10A has been divided into 6 sections covering 21 points. Incorporation or constitution details, other registration details, details of key persons, details of assets and liabilities, income details and religious activities details. In this video, I shall cover only the first section and the rest shall be discussed in my next video. So the first section of form 10A, that is incorporation or constitution details, starts with the PAN of the organization, name and complete address, all of which are auto-populated. I repeat, the first section starts with PAN, name and complete address of the organization, all of which are auto-populated. In case of your address is changed, kindly update the same by moving on to the tab Profile Settings on your income tax portal. Next comes the section code, where the section under which we are making an application has to be selected from the drop down list. The details of the section code which is to be selected for registration under the relevant sections has been provided in point number 7 of the instruction sheet attached to form 10A in the CBDT notification. I repeat, the details of the section code which is to be selected from the drop down list is provided in point number 7 of the instruction sheet attached to form 10A in the CBDT notification. Taking one example for section code, for 12A or 12AA renewal, select 1, that is subclause 1 of clause AC of subsection 1 to section 12A. For fresh registration under section 12AB, select 2, that is subclause 6 of clause AC of subsection 1 to section 12A. Similarly, the code as applicable to you based on the section for which the application is being filed needs to be selected in this option. The third point is related to the nature of activities which has to be selected out of the 3 options provided in the drop down list: charitable, religious or charitable cum religious. The first 2 I think is very clear, that is charitable and religious. But what about the last option? Let me explain you. If your organization is carrying out charitable as well as religious activities, then you can select this option, but ensure you fulfill the provisions of the Act which says not more than 5% of the total income should be spent for religious activities. I will come back to it later, because later in the form even the details are required to be filled for such type of organizations. Next comes the type of constitution, that is whether it is a society or a trust or a section 8 company. With the constitution details is attached other 4 sub points which also needs to be filled. Whether the organization is registered. If yes, then all the subpoints such as the date of registration, the registration number, and the authority granting the registration is also required to be filled. Moving to the next point, objects of the applicant. Now, this has to be selected very prudently and based on the nature of activities and projects carried out by the organization. The list of objects provided in the form is nothing but the activities as listed out in the definition of charitable activities defined in the Income Tax Act. So, the organization has to select whether it is involved in religious activities, relief to the poor, education, medical relief, yoga, preservation of environment, preservation of monuments of historic interests, or advancement of any other objects of general public utility. Finally, the first section ends with a very simple but important question from the perspective of charitable organizations: whether the trust deed contains the clause that the trust is irrevocable. I repeat, whether the trust deed contains the clause that the trust is irrevocable. The reason I said it is important because this clause provides a kind of surety that the intention of the founder, which would have been welfare of the public at large at the time of incorporation of the trust, shall always be protected and cannot be revoked ever without fulfilling the clauses of the trust deed. Usually, a public charitable trust is not revoked but is transferred to other charitable organizations having similar objects and registrations to continue fulfilling the charitable objectives of the trust for which it was established. So, this was all about Form 10A and filling up of its first section. For further details and our next video on Form 10A, keep tuned to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe and put your notification on. For any queries, feel free to comment below or contact us through email. Thank you.